So, what do you think? Is Texas under attack? Sure looks like it, doesn't it? That's what we're going to be talking about. Welcome to Integrated Preparedness. I am Steve Smith. Grab yourself one. I drink Yingling. It's my new favorite beer. Grab your favorite beverage as long as it's not Bud Light. And let's talk about it. By the way, before I get started, I want to welcome all the new people that have joined us both on the YouTube and the Patreon channel. It's great to have you. I probably ought to do, every now and then I need to do kind of a, remember how Rush Limbaugh used to do his caller seminars for new people? Says, here's how to make a call. Let me give you a few guidelines on comments and things like that. First off, we love comments. I love getting your comments. I look forward to reading them. I look forward to answering them. However, there are a few things to keep in mind. This is not a free speech zone. This is a good speech zone. This is a polite, respectful, and helpful speech zone. People who come on who are rude and insulting and argumentative and things like that, I get rid of them and I don't let them back. I claim to have the smartest audience in YouTube land and the smartest commenters, and every time I see the comments, I am justified in that claim, and it's even better, believe it or not, over on Patreon. By the way, that's not just to diminish anybody who's only on YouTube, but I would say if you're one of the smarter ones, why aren't you on Patreon? That brings me to a little bit of what we're going to talk about today. Do you remember, I have to have one more here. I'll probably have a few more before we get done here. Remember yesterday, I guess it was, that I was talking about the chemical fire down at the Shell facility in Deer Park, Texas, right? So today, I get a notice that Hondo Bob, one of our top tier commenters over on Patreon, has left some links in the community section. And it was about the city of Dallas being hit with a cyber attack. Now, what that attack was, it wasn't like the city of Dallas, meaning the whole city. It was on the city government of Dallas, apparently. And what it did was shut down. Well, it was a ransomware attack. So they locked up a lot of their information. They locked them. I'm not a techie, so I'm not going to try to get as deep into the weeds here to where I get lost, okay? There's probably a lot of you out there who know more about this than I do, so I'll leave it up to you. But anyway, through the emergency services, fire, police, 911, all that, their computers weren't working. They had to do it the old way, kind of like we did it. Phones and radio calls and a notepad. You imagine how disruptive that was for a city the size of Dallas, Texas, and for a lot of the younger guys. I mean, younger meaning who have come on in the last 20 years, right? Or maybe 10. They haven't worked like that. They hadn't been trained like that. It was. You can imagine how much it slowed down the emergency services. I didn't come on here just to drink, but Yingling is so good. And I limit myself to one a night on the nights that I drink a beer. Sometimes two if I'm feeling really wild. So you can imagine what happened in the city. Training scenario number one. We'll get back to that. And then I just noticed an hour or two ago, before my pizza was ready, that there was a mass shooting at in Allen, Texas, at some outlet mall. Allen, Texas is a suburb of Dallas, and multiple people shot, several killed, as far as I know. I haven't kept up with it. I've been busy. I have other things to do, so I haven't immersed myself in the news. That's not the part. You don't need me to give you the news. You can check on the news yourself. But when you put all these things together, like there were some comments on, the one I did last night about that that shell facility. Yeah, one is happenstance, like one of the commenters said. 2 might be a coincidence. 3, something's going on. We have never seen this, as I said last night. I have never seen this many critical incidents, let me put them that way, in my life happening so sudden. When you look at just Texas, and I'm gonna get around to what this means to you as a person, as a prepared person, as either a prepared person or want to be a prepared person in a second. When you just look at Texas, look at what's happened to Texas with the border, with not just the Deer Park situation yesterday, but previous Deer Park situations. Their state is being overrun. The feds aren't giving them any help. Texas is thinking about, I won't use the S word, secession. I won't claim that they're thinking about seceding. What I'll say is you can see things within their state government that they are wanting to try to insulate themselves from the larger picture, and I don't blame them a bit. When that many things happens in Texas, you have to ask yourself, and I'm asking myself, well, I mentioned this to Kelly. First thing she said is, they've declared war on Texas. Well, we know that a large segment of this country and a large political persuasion has been wanting to turn Texas for a long time, and they keep at it and they keep at it and they keep at it. Sadly, this won't get into politics. I reserve that for American Reversion. Sadly, they are successful very often, and we've had a lot of pushback, but they are successful. This creates more challenges for us. When you look at these situations, all of these situations put together, the situation down in Deer Park, they're burning off those chemicals. Who knows what kind of toxic gases those people down there are breathing in, right? I'm sure that the government will tell us nothing to worry about, everything's fine, breathe the air, drink the water, eat the dirt, right? We have everything under control, and the fact that your goldfish is growing an extra head means nothing at all. What would you do? Are you in good enough situation? Here's the question, and here's the training opportunity. If your city services were the victim of a cyber attack, would you be okay? Would you be able to provide those services that you need? Fire, protection, emergency medical services? How are you set up for that? Most people, they could handle their own, well, to an extent, they can handle a lot of their emergency medical services, and because really, I mean, when I worked at the hospital, 90% of the things that came into the ER didn't need to come into the ER, and any person who's worked in an ER will tell you that, okay? It could have been handled at home. People get all overboard about, oh my gosh, Johnny's got a cough, or I cut my finger, I'd better go to the ER, or I'm feeling sad, better go to the ER. Most of those don't have to be in it. So most of the emergency medical, what they think of as emergency medical nowadays, used to be handled at home, and it used to be handled by mom, and so you can handle most of those. When it comes to fire protection, I don't think most people are quite ready for that. You might think about that. If you live in a city or a suburbs, it makes it a little more difficult. And now, hopefully, it's easier to be set up out in the country for fire suppression. But it's not impossible if you're in the city or the suburbs. So think about that. Just use this as a learning tool. The thing that is more commonly the problem is, what if your bank gets hacked? What if the ATM system gets hacked? What if your work gets hacked? What if, for whatever reasons, what if all of a sudden all of those systems, like I always say here, all of those external interconnected systems over which you have little or no control go down. Are you set? Are you all right? Do you have all the food you need for the next 7 years? 7 years, Steve? What are you talking about? Well, I do suggest 7 years. It's biblical, but most people aren't. How about a year? How about 6 months? You should be a lot more farther along than that. You should have 2 years. 2 years of food. You should have as much water as you can store. One of our people, our good commenters over there, said that she is increasing her water storage, and she's got some barrels. I'd suggest look at those IBC totes. They handle it. They hold a lot more water for the footprint that they have. They're not expensive. You can find them in most cities on Craigslist for $75 for a 75 gallon tote. Get a couple of those and you're pretty well set up. Not for long term, but for short term. And then, of course, you should have ways to filter and purify your water. We've used Berkeys for years, and I suggest that everybody have a Berkey. And have some Sawyer minis, Sawyer portables you can throw in your bags just in case you need it. Do you have plenty of cash? I'm not a big believer in keeping a bunch of cash in the bank. Keep it where you can get it. What about, so we've covered food, water, those are the things, and money. Are your fuel tanks topped off? They should always be topped off. Okay. What if this hack hit your city? What if it hit, like I say, if it doesn't have to hit the individual, the Quick Trip or the U-Totem or whatever it is you have in your town, it can hit the ATM system, and all of a sudden you can't get gas. If you don't have cash on hand. Those things work together. So make sure that your tanks are topped off. Are your propane tanks full? Do you have extras? Just tick these things off. And then what about the shooting in the mall? Are you prepared everywhere you go to be able to defend yourself? Okay. I'm going to be doing one for, I'm not sure if I'll just do it on Patreon or not. I'll think about that. About simply a determination to live equals a willingness to kill. That's something that a lot of people are very uncomfortable with, and they should be. It's not something that somebody should be comfortable with, to the extent that they don't care. I mean, the taking of another human life is something that you should care about. But do you understand? And I'll probably make it tomorrow or Monday about a class that I teach called Kill Proof, and it is the basic tenets that you need to understand and accept and ingrain within you to be ready for those kinds of situations. But until we get to that, are you ready? Are you armed all the time? Are you paying attention to what's going on around you? Okay. Do you know where the exits are? Do you keeping an eye on people? And there will be some who say, well, you can't always tell about people from how they look. Yeah, well, you can't always, but you can often. Okay? That's the thing. And the smarter you are, and the more streetwise you are, and the more you've been around, the more experience you have, the better you're able to determine that. So these things are interesting. Man, if I was going to make war on Texas, I'd be doing these things right now, just the way they're happening. And then I'd do something tomorrow, or maybe I'd skip a day, and just when everybody thought things were settling down, let's do another one. Wasn't that those 18,000 cows that burned to death? That was Texas too, wasn't it? Yeah. Now, Texas is a big state, but to have that high a percentage of national catastrophic situations going on, and I know somebody will say, well, a mall shooting is not a national catastrophic situation. It's part of a complete scheme. Okay. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Use these. Keep your eyes open. Use these as drills and check it off. Are you ready? Are you self-sufficient? No matter what happens, are you going to be able to continue your life, as close to normal as possible? And I'll revisit. I think back when I'm not sure if I talked about our comment policy, because I was watching something while I was doing this. If I forgot, if I already did, it's worth repeating. If I forgot, we like good comments here. We like positive comments. That doesn't mean you got to kiss up. That simply means not a bunch of negativity. Don't call anybody stupid. Don't use any bad language. Don't be argumentative. Don't be a butthole. Be contributive, okay, in a positive way. And I will say one thing. I've noticed every now and then I go and I check like the comments that I haven't gotten back to, and some that were held by the filters. I put a filter on that holds things back if there's a link in the comment. Don't put links in the comments. Do not put links in there, okay? You can put links on your channel if you have a channel, but not on mine. And some were held up because of punctuation, because they stopped the sentence and then they forgot to put a space before their next word, and the filter picked it up as an URL, okay, as a website. And some of those comments were great. I wish that they'd gotten them up, and I see, the guy, he left this comment a month ago. It was a great comment. I didn't get back to him because I didn't see it. He probably thinks that I didn't like it or didn't approve. Not at all the case. It was a typo that caused that thing to be held. So just think about that, and also make sure that your comments, when you write a comment, make sure it's understandable. I'll be honest. If I can't understand what you're trying to get at, if it's just a bunch of gibberish, I'm taking it off. I don't care about having a bunch of comments. I care about having good comments that will be instructive to other people who read them and come through. And please, don't put 9 million verses from Revelation down there, okay? It's inappropriate. This isn't the place for it. And besides that, that's your opinion, and many other very learned people have a very different opinion than yours, okay? All right? Okay. Think about these. Use these situations as your checklist, as we should everything that comes down the road. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. Remember, if you're not with us on Patreon, the link is right down below. Come over, because that's where the super smart ones are. And we have a fantastic community section to where some of our very top people leave a lot of information over there for you. Everything from the science behind EMP and CME, the ham radio, to Triple G is I always forget this Triple G. He is a pharmaceutical chemist. If you want to know about the drug situation out there and what to prepare for, with everything coming from China and all that, he just does a great job helping us all out by what he posts in our comment section, along with Hondo Bob and some others. So you all have a good night. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But no matter what happens tomorrow, you ought to be ready for it. Okay? I'm going to finish this. Hope you have a good one. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.